welcome back. Another episode of Red Wine and Chaos. I'm Ash.
And I'm Lar.
And we are coming to you sans children.
Hey, we can record with the door open. The worst thing you might hear is the pets fighting, which they usually make a cameo.
Yeah.
Or John yelling at his video game.
Yeah, it's going to be one or the other.
It's one or the other.
But it ain't going to be no kids.
Ain't gonna be no kids.
So we had a busy week this week.
Yeah. Had a hectic week this week.
Hectic week.
A wild ass week.
I went over, we talked about this a few episodes ago, that I had like cleaned out the whole closet and like refolded everything in my drawers and like got rid of a whole bunch of shit. And I went over to Laura's house on Monday and did the exact same thing to her closet.
She went to town. Like on some Marie. Am I too far away?
Yeah, you got to get a little bit closer.
Dang.
I know.
It's the first time that's ever happened.
I know.
I don't want to blow the mic out. You know? I've done that before.
I know how to fix it now, though.
Right. She completely, like, what is it, Marie Kondo or whatever her name is, on my closet. I had boxes in there, first of all, still of stuff that I hadn't unpacked from when we moved. For a good reason, though. There were things in there that I didn't want to unpack. And then they made it straight to the trash. And then, for a good reason as well. If you would have seen them, you would understand why they went straight in the garbage. Secondly, it just needed a full... And then, like, watching Ashley organize my closet, I was like, why didn't I do that? That makes all the sense in the world. But I caught on. Mm-hmm. I caught on very quickly. Mm-hmm. So, like, yeah, like, that type of stuff is not my strong suit. It's not my thing. And I don't like doing it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
You kind of do like it when
Yeah.
you get in the groove.
Mm-hmm.
Although we had fun. We put on some music. We had some wine.
Yeah.
We had a good time with it. And now it's like beautiful. And it's, before she left, she threatened me. Don't fuck up my closet. And then this first question she asked me, you know how I go straight to the drinks? That was like the first question she asked. Did you fuck up my closet yet? Nope. Sure didn't. Kept it right intact.
But we organized it. We put like all the short sleeves with the short sleeves and the stuff that you only wear really like work meetings and conferences, like we put them towards the back and those are all together, and
which was in the front.
Yeah.
On the like the easy most accessible side. Makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah, it wasn't.
We put, you know, the bulky sweatshirts towards the back, and we went through the 7,000 pair of pants that you had thrown up in the top of your closet, and
yep.
Got rid of a ton of stuff,
a ton of shit,
like
6 or 7 bags, and then like 2 big boxes.
Yeah.
And shoes and clothes and shit that I don't wear and shit that's ugly and shit that's stupid, and like threw it all away.
Yep.
And I took out the trash this week.
Yeah.
And it felt good.
Yeah.
It was very freeing. It's
yeah.
quite an experience.
It wasn't even my closet. And I remember like at one point I went back into your room. I took those purses from the dining room table back in your room. And I was like, God, this looks good. And I can't even imagine what Laura's feeling, because I feel good just looking at it, and it's not even my closet.
No, it's like I went in there. So like the 2 mornings since then that I've gone in there to pick out whatever clothes I'm like, oh, what do I want to wear today? It's kind of like an enjoyable experience, as opposed to I'm stressed out like, oh, where do I find this shit? Which typically I'm like digging out of laundry baskets that I haven't put away anyways. But no, everything was like had a spot and a space, and I knew where I needed to find what I wanted to find, and I didn't have to go digging. And then like wire hangers are still a thing that were in my closet, you know? And like Ashley was like, nope, we're getting rid of those for the most part. I did keep a few of them, but like just made a full transition into a big girl's closet. It only took me 37 years to get there.
And we have a plan for your hats, and like we even put like all the clutches with the clutches inside of a bigger bag, and we put all of like the handbags with each other, and we put the suitcases together. I mean,
yeah, no, it's like legit.
It's a full-blown adult. Laura's a full-blown adult over there.
I have transitioned into a full-blown adult this week. It's amazing what a little housekeeping will do for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so next is the like pantry dining room area.
Yeah, I'm coming over for that.
Yeah, so yeah, it's not my thing. It's not my thing. I have it. I know where everything's at. It's just not organized well. But
I'll help. I just did that with my pantry.
I get that from
too.
my mother. No offense, Mom. I love you dearly. I get that from my mom. If you open my mom's closets,
yeah,
don't.
Yeah.
If you haven't,
if you haven't,
don't.
Correct.
If you have, don't do it again because something will probably fall on you and you might hurt yourself. It's like you can't find anything in there.
And
There's so much in there. But her house is clean. Her house is spotless. Just don't open the closet door.
So
it's going to fall on you.
My mom is both. Her house is very, very clean, and she's very, very organized. Like, if you asked my mom where the ketchup was, she'd be like, left door, third shelved behind the ranch.
Sauce. Yeah,
I mean, she could tell you exactly where everything is in her house, and it's like a running joke. We like joke about it a lot. And my house is picked up, but it's not like clean. I'll admit that, right? Like my house is
clean. It's just not deep cleaned.
Correct.
Like you don't like fucking.
I don't live in filth.
No, you don't like scrub the toilet with a goddamn toothbrush. You know, like
No.
It's not immaculate, but it's not dirty.
Right.
Your house is not dirty.
So
it's clean. It's
my
just
mom's house is like pretty clean. But so I didn't get that from her, but I did get this like organization thing from her. And I don't get into those moods often, but when I do, like I am in it and we're going to finish it.
Well, girl, I'm grateful for the mood because, and I don't even know if you were in the mood, but I appreciate the help. I needed you. It was like a SOS call. It wasn't even an SOS call. I didn't even ask. She was like, by the way, I'm coming and I'm doing this and you're not going to tell me no. And I know sometimes you need your space and this is not a violation of your space. It's you need help and you're not doing this by yourself. And I'm like, bet. And I was like, I don't want to. Thank you. You know, like sometimes being who I am, I'll be like, no, I'm good. It's okay. Like and it's not like a stubborn thing. It's almost just like I'm so used to doing it for myself or by myself, you know, but in those moments, you know, when you got your person and they just know. Yeah. Like the twin tingle. We're not fucking twins, but we have a goddamn twin tingle. And it happened this weekend and it was fucking weird. And I texted her the next morning and I'm like, that shit's getting weird. That shit's getting weird because it's like you sensed it and it's like you felt it and the fucking it was wild. It's wild. It's a real thing.
So so we're coming off of that and now we're having a child-free evening.
Yeah. So we switched it up.
We did because we had wings for dinner. Laura and I love chicken wings.
It's my favorite food group. It's essential for my well-being. Ashley sends me a text. John's making chicken wings. If you're in the mood? What type of setup of question is that?
Well, you've got plans tomorrow. I didn't know if you wanted to get home early, so I was just trying to be nice.
Girl,
I knew
bye.
you were going to stay and have some, but I was just trying to be thoughtful.
You were like baiting me, like you knew what the answer was going to be.
I bossed you once this week. I didn't want to do it twice.
No, you don't have to sass me to get me to eat some chicken wings.
So we thought, because we ate before we recorded, that maybe we should have something different with our chicken wings.
Yes.
So what did we choose today?
Lovely raspberry Meierg. And it's nice too. So it's one of those 1800 ultimate like margarita kind of pre-made mixes, which are good in themselves. Yeah. They're actually well done, to be honest with you. When I go out to the bar, I don't necessarily pick a raspberry. If say I'm getting Mexican or something.
Sure.
I just pick like a peach or something. So I would never have picked this myself. But it's good. It's the second time we've had these. Yeah. Not on the show, I don't think. But it's the second time that I've had these with you. And I also don't go frozen most of the time. Yeah. These are delicious frozen. Yeah. Or blended, I should say. Whatever, frozen, blended. And Ashley adds more tequila to them. And she adds good tequila. It's Cabo. So it's delicious. Yeah. It's a nice little
chilled drink for our buffalo wings.
It went great with the wings, and it's pink and lovely, like all the lovely ladies in our lives that we might tribute to today. And it's fucking 3 cheers.
Yeah,
because it's
like
also
a solid 3.
It's a solid 3. It's delicious. It tastes good, and it's strong. So. Clink, clink, clink.
All things up Lars alley.
All things up. I love my booze to have a little bit of flavor to it, meaning the booze-wise. I'm not going to lie to you. I can't taste the tequila in this, but it's strong because I had one, and I was like, oh, that's a happy little feeling. Let me have another. Ashley, another round, will ya? My favorite bartender.
So we thought... we were just getting back in the groove of things at the beginning of March. Mm-hmm. And we posted about it on social media, but we haven't touched on it at all.
No.
International Women's Day is on March 8th, and we are really, really big advocates for International Women's Day, for women in general. But March is Women's History Month, and we haven't touched on that yet. And so it's the last day of Women's History Month, and I think that it's important to keep those conversations going so that, maybe some of the awful shit that happens to women stops happening. Right? The more conversations you have, that's the hope, and that's the idea, and like that's the goal, that's the dream. And so we are happy to be a part of these conversations and to keep them going. And so I thought we would have a little like
ode.
I'm fucking proud to be a woman episode.
Agreed. It's right on time.
So I was inspired. Where I work does a really good job of trying to be inclusive, and they have like the more you know every month. The more you know. And so they interviewed for Women's History Month. They interviewed several women in our company. Some of them work in manufacturing. Some of them worked in sales. I think one worked in like marketing and design. I can't remember. But they interviewed these women and they asked, oh my God, Jesse just ran in here with a fish hanging out of his mouth.
Just going fishing, Ma. Don't mind me.
It's a cat toy. It has catnip in it. And Shotzi's just going to town.
Does catnip affect dogs?
I have no idea. I'll tell you later.
Man, enjoy. Let's see what happens.
So some of the questions that they asked were, what's your proudest moment as a female or as a woman? And what is your biggest piece of advice for women in the workforce?
Oof.
And while I think those two questions are great, and I would like to touch on them, I think there's a lot of other like really great questions that can go along with that. So the other thing is, have you seen, I don't know if they were showing them during March Madness, the men's tournament. But I saw them a lot when I was watching the women's play, the Buick commercial.
With the woman, and it's her, but there's 4 of her in the car. Wrong Buick commercial.
Yep.
Okay. I've seen that one.
It's specific to sports.
Okay.
And so it's a black screen, and there's like a tiny little strip on the top, and it's talking about, I'm going to have to find it real quick. It's talking about the disparity in women in sports. Like women make up 40% of collegiate athletes, but they only get 10% of the coverage, and so it's basically Buick is saying like, we're trying to shed more light on women's sports and
no,
stuff like that.
I haven't seen it.
I wonder if I can find it.
I haven't seen it. Interestingly enough, so you and Sarah had went to that Michigan game, the University of Michigan women's basketball team, while they're in the tournament. Ashley and Sarah went a couple weekends ago and watched them play. And I had asked Sarah, when she told me that you guys went, I was like, do you have season tickets? She was like, no, but she was like, they're so cheap. She was like, they're like cheap. $1 or something just
they're like
insulting.
It is insulting.
Yeah.
We were looking, if Michigan had made it to the Final Fours, Jesus. Act educated, Ashley. If Michigan made it to the Final Four for women,
it's that Cabo sneaking up on you.
Sarah and I were talking about possibly even going because it's in Minnesota. We could drive there. Like it's an 8-hour drive.
It's this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, and they ended up not making it. But tickets for the whole weekend, you got both Final Four games and the final game were like $200.
For men's, they're like
$1,500 a game.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're like $2,000 or something.
Like a game, stupid. You don't even get
you don't
the
get
whole
multiple games. Yeah,
you get
wild.
one.
Yeah, that's wild.
And it's just like, as a female athlete,
right?
I wish that there was more coverage, and I wish that there was more weight thrown behind women's sports. And I get it. Women's sports don't generally bring in as much money, so you can't pay them the way that you would. You can't charge for tickets the way that you would. But it's hard for me to believe that if you didn't throw some money behind them, that you couldn't push that a little bit more.
Spend money to make money. I think that's in any business investment, right? But they're not willing to spend the money. I don't think the money is there in terms of even, like you're pushing it more, marketing it, what are you, how are you trying to sell it, the level of interest, and then what is the backing of those sports from the other departments and the other teams within the, and the full community for that matter. Like, that's the unfortunate thing. It's tough to get everybody to buy in and get behind it, which is such a crock of shit. But it's like, whatever.
And I'll tell you what, I watch the men's tournament and I watch the women's tournament when I get it, because again, it's not on.
You don't get the same
TNT, right. So when it's on, I watch. And the one thing that I noticed is like, man, I get that the women can't jump out of the gym. I get it. But they work 10 times harder than the men. They get less fouls called. So it is aggressive. These women are out there aggressive, and they're not getting flop calls. And they're not getting these things that you see in men's sports a lot. Like, John was watching a few games with me, and he's like, that should be a foul. I was like, yeah, because it would be for you. But it's not.
Yeah,
for us.
It's sad. I mean, it's much like anything in society at this point. It's just another, unfortunately, somewhat of a marginalized group. Now, don't get me wrong. I know we've made leaps and bounds.
Sure.
But it's still not the same. So I love the question that you asked, the first one that you mentioned about what is your biggest accomplishment as a woman. How would you answer that question? What would you say that is for you?
I would say my biggest accomplishment as a woman is probably being able to find my voice in the situations that it calls for. I work in a male-dominated industry. I have worked in a male-dominated industry for much of my life, unless I was working in the bar. And even then, all of your customers are old white men.
Leadership is typically male.
And I've worked in a place where I was definitely discriminated against because I was female. And I think that was the turning point for me when that happened. I swore to myself, like, that is not going to be who I am. I'm not going to bend over anymore just because I'm a female. I'm allowed to have a voice, and I'm allowed to speak, and I'm allowed to say things that are on my mind and have them taken seriously and not thrown in my face because I'm a quote unquote emotional woman. I remember one time at my previous company, we were talking about, I was working in finance, and I was upset because something had to do with a charity, and they were trying to use some of the funds that were garnered for the charity to pay for things that were for the staff, because we took our cost out of the donation before we donated the charity. And I was like, that's not happening. That is so unethical. Like, we're not doing that. We're not having this charity pay for your things. You can do that out of your recognition budget, or we have money in a budget for things like that. Not taking it. I will not cut that check. I will not send that money. It's not going to happen. If you want to talk to my boss and have him do it, that's fine, but I'm not doing it. And they were like, you're just an emotional woman because you're too close to the project and you're just being emotional about it. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm being ethical. and there's a difference. You don't get to slap on me that I'm an emotional woman because I'm doing the right thing. And I'm not going to sit here and let you talk to me that way. So figure it out. And I stood up for myself, and I made sure that it was known that I'm not, that's not going to fly for me. You're not going to just label me because you can.
All right, which happens more often than it should. That's for sure.
So, and I mean, that would be something that I would tell anyone. Like, how do you get through your day in the workplace, or how do you get the things that you need done? And it's like, you just have to find your voice. You have to insert yourself into situations where you're going to benefit for it, and where you're right. And to not let someone tell you that you're not just because you're a female.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's huge.
So what about you? Do you have something you're the most proud of?
I was like wrestling between two thoughts. So,
well, tell me both.
One of them would definitely be the ability to successfully raise my child and maintain my household by myself independently, which is not an easy task to do.
No.
And to do it fairly successfully, without, drowning and falling on my face. And
that is something you should be proud of.
Yeah. So that's one. And granted, a couple of things to note, obviously, I'm well aware that I put myself in that situation. I'm aware.
But you could have put yourself in that situation and crumbled.
Yeah.
And you didn't.
Yeah. I'm not negating my responsibility, in owning my piece and how I got there. This is not a call for pity for Laura. What I'm saying is that it's hard enough to be, it's tough being a parent, period. It's tough being a working adult, period. We all carry life stresses. It's really tough to do it by yourself and maintain a household head above water, having all the things we could possibly need and even what we want at that. Again, I'm always, but I work really, really hard to make sure that he has never, even in times where it wasn't in the place that I'm in today, nobody would have ever known that because I made it happen. I made ends meet. I pulled all the strings and I did it fairly, almost all the way on my own, if not all by myself. So I would say that. Secondly, I would say, and it's probably something I'm coming into more now at this age than before, is finding, and it's similar to kind of what you said, but it's me finding my balance as a woman. It's balancing my strong nature, my intense personality, which a lot of times with women is often noted as bitchy or controlling or too bossy or, intense or whatever. It's me finding my balance with that mixed with things that necessarily aren't natural to me and weren't emphasized. And when I say emphasized, it wasn't a focus for me as a woman growing up. And I know, I've had conversations about this, but I was raised to be independent, strong, be able to take care of myself, successful, don't need a man, don't need this, don't need that. Those are all really very important, amazing qualities that were instilled in me. But there is a balance to that, right? And so there's a side to that while all of those things are wonderful, there's some things that get lost as a woman my age, our age, living and being a single woman. What does that look like for you when you are trying to potentially meet somebody, build a family, find somebody that you match up with? So it's some of those very intense, independent qualities that I'm so used to having to have for survival, I've learned to balance that into having some more femininity, the ability to see things through a different lens and not being so intense. And again, that's not losing who I am in the process, but it's just balancing that and finding what's going to work for me. And so I think that that's a big accomplishment for me as a woman. You know, it's finding the balance of who I am and how it's going to best serve me, you know, as a woman moving forward, and what I need and what I want for myself in my life. And so, yeah, I would say that, because I think even at this age, regardless of recent failures or, you know, failures that are on the list.
Sure.
Some of those don't have anything to do with me.
No. But I think that's the beauty and part of this journey for you, is like recognizing that as well.
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest things about being a woman is, I saw this this thing today, and it's the exhausting part of motherhood. Mm-hmm. But I think it's just the exhausting part of being a woman is you take on everybody else's emotions. Mm-hmm. So like,
because by nature, I think we're just naturally empathetic, right? So you're an empath, whether you're more of an aggressive outward kind of. I think all women that we're by nature like nurturing empaths, regardless of what your outward personality looks like.
So I think that kind of goes along with what you were saying, is finding that balance between like taking on everybody else's emotions, but knowing when to stop.
Yeah.
And paying attention to your own emotions.
To yourself. Yeah. Yeah. And making sure that you're loving on yourself and putting your own needs up there as well, because I will bury my own shit.
So we've been having we had a rough week last week with Oliver, and he was always going to go to my mom's for spring break, but I can always tell when I need a break, when I need a mom break, when I need some time. And we had hit that point probably like a long time ago, but he's in sports and shit now, and that shit happens on the weekend, and like I don't want him to miss it, so he just is here. And I'm not complaining about being a mom. I love my child. Some days, I don't like being a mom. And some days it's heavy and it's hard. But being able to take a break from his emotions for a bit so that I can have my own.
Yeah. You're not carrying his.
It's a big deal for me. Yeah. And I've learned that through the ADHD journey. That's what taught me that. But it's a lot. It's a lot to take on other people's emotions. And I think as women, it's just naturally something that we do.
Absolutely. And I'm a fixer, right? So it's like when there are other people's emotions that come into play, whether I wear it or not. I actually watched a video on it today, and it was dealing with like codependency and stuff. And it's like, I may have had a great day. Mm-hmm. And then if somebody that I'm close to or somebody that I love isn't having a great day and they're stressed out, my first initial go-to, or something that happens with me sometimes, is like, oh shit, well, I don't want to be over here having a great day and they're feeling down in the dumps. It's like, okay, well, now what can I do to lift them up? And then I might put on the cape or the coat that has their emotions in it, or their stress. And then I'm over here. And in addition to that, I overthink a lot of things. So it's like, did I do something? Oh no, did I do something to piss him off? What can I do to make it right? What can I do to, so then I'm wearing.
Now you're overcompensating.
I'm overcompensating. Now I'm wearing 2 layers of clothing because I'm wearing theirs. Now I'm wearing mine, and now I'm wearing a potential hypothetical. So now I'm in 3 layers of coats, and it's like, this shit gets heavy. And so, I really, really, really try to step back, and more so now than ever, to step back and say, yeah, okay, the way that you're operating in this isn't working, you know? And so like, I'll say when it comes to my kid, like, man, he's so fucking easy for me. Like, and I know it's not the case for everybody. Trust me, I get it. But it's like, and that's I'm not bragging. It's just like, he's a relief for me because when I'm going through it and I got some things on my plate, it's like he is so in tune with how to love somebody, how to genuinely be there and love somebody, and how to love on his mama. Like, he just has all the fucking right things to say. This week, it's like, man, I swear to God, sometimes it's like, man, that's supposed to be me, not you. And like, it is. But the reason why I feel good about it is because I know that I taught him a lot of that.
Yeah, that had to come from somewhere.
That had to come from somewhere. And yes, some of it is innate.
Yes.
But I also know what I've instilled in my son. How to be a good human. How to be a good, how to treat women.
Mm-hmm.
The respect that you have to have for women and humans in general. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that the best accomplishment, that if you ask me this question in fucking 20 years, less than 20 years, and you ask me what my best accomplishment as a woman is, I'm going to point to my son and tell you it's him, because he is going to make a fucking outstanding grown man someday.
Well, I'm going to point to him too.
Is it Ashley? Because he just fucking gets it, and it's because he is also in tune with people's emotions, and so I do. There's some things that he is going to have to work on that are going to be challenges for him, and not the same way that I do, not carrying other people's shit, just like you said, not carrying Oliver's emotions. It's not carrying mom's shit or anybody else's shit.
Yeah.
But still being able to be a support system for those people without it wearing thin on you.
Yeah.
And so I do think that if you have a man who is an empath but also has that strength, you know what I'm saying? Like, can truly hear you, feel you, and I would honestly beg, your husband is that.
Yeah.
Yep. He's an empath. He feels things. He feels for people. He gets it. But at the same time, he's a strong enough man to be able to he's also a fixer, though.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a fixer. And it's like, he wants to solve all the people's that he loves problems.
Yeah. He'd solve the world's problems if he could, but
he's one of the best men I know.
Yeah.
Outside of the men in my immediate family.
Yeah.
He's one of the best men I know. So he's, if my kid, he's following Uncle John's lead. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel that.
He's pretty awesome on his own, too.
He's a good kid. He makes me look good.
So one of the other things that we brought up was in the workforce. And I always find this statistic interesting that women make 82 cents on the dollar compared to men.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that go into that. It's worse for women of color.
Mm-hmm.
I found it interesting when I was doing some digging that it's actually worse. What does this say? Assess. So for every dollar that a white man makes, a white woman makes 79 cents. A black woman makes 62 cents. An Asian woman makes 90 cents. American Indian or Alaska Native make 57 cents. And Hispanic women make 54 cents to the dollar.
Wow.
Of a white man. Wow. Half. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is.
That's crazy to me. And I get it. There's a lot of things that go into it. Different professions, years of education, qualifications, years in the industry, blah, 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 blah. But I feel like
the majority of it is societal structure.
I agree.
In this country.
And I feel like women are forced into certain professions. Teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you force women into these professions, but you refuse to pay them anymore. Could you imagine what the wage gap would be if you paid teachers appropriately? No.
And I know what my brother makes, and he is very qualified. Oh, I mean,
yeah, I agree.
Been working hard, has all the the credentials, all the degrees, the certifications. Yep. He's extremely good at his job. He's great with kids. I know what my brother makes as a teacher. He makes great money as a teacher. I don't know a woman that makes the same amount of money as my brother does as a teacher. And that is not a slam against him. He earns every fucking dollar doing that. He works very, very hard. He loves his summers, but he works very, very hard. And he has, like I said, he's earned but I know no woman that makes the same amount of money. When I found out how much money my brother made, I was like, holy fuck, bro.
And I think for me, that's that, like, when it's apples to apples and they're still not making the same, I can get behind not making the same if they don't have the same experience. If they don't have the same degrees.
Yeah.
If they don't have the same education, certifications,
qualifications, like
in general, I can understand if it's not apples to apples and they're not making the same. But if it is apples to apples and they are not making the same dollar amount as a man, like, that doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah. Yep. I work in, so the field that I work in now, so my job is not, it's strange. It's very strange. I work for an association management company, right? So we manage day-to-day operations for an association, a nonprofit association. The company that I actually am employed by, though, is not a nonprofit. It's a for-profit. It's not a for-profit, but it's a company that employs folks that manages those other. So we could have numerous clients, but we only have one client due to the size of the company plus the amount of work that goes into this said association. It is very, very, the association itself runs with a board of directors, right? And so the industry itself is highly male dominated, and it's because of the work that is done. It's electrical testing. So, I mean, you're not going to, it is not, there is, and these a lot of these people are engineers. They're testing technicians. It's manual work in the field that many times is dominated by mostly men. So the men that the folks that I work with that are even on the board, that are the higher up management level, leadership level folks that really kind of head the association up, that are our committee chairs, those that I have to, the stakeholders that are really involved in the planning for the association, are almost all men. We just recently added a woman to the board of directors, which is amazing. To be part of that, I feel great about, and she is phenomenal. I love her because she is super intelligent. She's an engineer. She's head of like safety and training for her company, and she is fucking smart as shit, but she is cool as shit, and she's like probably in her late 30s, early 40s. I don't know how old she is. She's close to our age, though, I would say. She's not much older, I would say. And if she's not the same age, I don't even know. But she's fucking dope. I love her. She is amazing. Her personality is cool as shit, and she's so smart.
Yeah.
And so what I can say is, I've worked in this association for a long time. I have love as, I mean, it's a job just like anybody else, but there are certain aspects of my job that I really, really like. One accomplishment that I could say in the workforce that I am proud of is that I have established myself in a very male-dominated industry as a woman to be taken seriously based on her credentials, her professionalism, and her ability to do her job. I've been there for almost 9 years. I've seen a lot of people come and go, and there are times where it's the old boys club. It is, and that's not a secret to anybody. If anybody that I work with is listening, it's not a secret. It's just the way it's almost like we were working in the government.
Yeah.
And so, to be respected in that industry for the work that I do and not being seen as, oh, it's one of those girls. It's one of those girls.
Those little ladies.
Yeah, because that's how they have actually phrased.
Yeah, I bet.
Having some of the past employees that have worked here. Oh, it's one of the so-and-so girls, like the name of the association or whatever. And I was like, oh, no. It ain't gonna be me. Sorry. No. I ain't that for you. I come, I show up, I do my job, I hold myself in a high, a high level of professionalism. I make sure I perform, and I want you to respect me for the job that I'm doing. Now, did it start that way? No, I had to prove myself.
Sure.
Which is sad enough in itself, but I do understand that's the nature of the beast. Sometimes you do. But now that I've established myself and kind of what my no bullshit take on stuff is going to be.
Yeah.
I'm very respected. And so I would say that's one of my accomplishments in the workforce.
Yeah. I was just talking to our girlfriend Steph, and she was kind of she needs some advice about work because she started a new job within the last year, and she works with a lot of men. And she called me kind of looking for some advice on how to handle a couple
of
situations. And one of the things I told her, I was like, unfortunately, these men, because I work with them too, or did at my previous employer, the only time you're going to get respect out of them is when you kind of bite back a little bit, right? You have to just tell it like it is sometimes. And if you know you're going to have HR on your side, say it. Say it. Say what you need to say. Because what I've noticed is that a lot of times when you speak up and you use your voice, they'll back off because it's like, oh, okay.
She's established.
I'm not going to fuck with her. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And while I think that that's great to find your voice and do that, I wish that wasn't the case.
That you didn't have
to. I wish you didn't have to. I wish that respect could just come. And I'm not saying not having to prove yourself. I'm talking with people on the same level as you, right? The respect could just be there.
Yeah. Yeah, without having to come out of pocket a little bit, and not even out of pocket in a disrespectful way, but just having to, like you said, kind of having to prove yourself and set this tone for yourself. Like, okay, I'm not going to be that pushover. It's not going to be me. But doing it in the most respectful and professional way. That is tough. That is a balance. That is something that women have to work at, especially if you are in a male-dominated field, which a lot of women find themselves in. It's tough. It's very, very tough to be able to measure up, to be able to be taken seriously, performing at the level that you're at without being seen. And then if you do find voice and push back, sometimes, again, that comes into play. It's like, oh, she's that pushy, and so I am a little rough around my edges, but I do that and when I go to work, again, not in an unprofessional way, in a very kind of stern, yep, I'm here to do the job. I've actually had to have been told or coached, not told necessarily, coached, even in my responses, because I'm very direct,
right?
But not in an asshole way. I'm literally just trying to get the job done and get my point across. And what the expectation is with this group of folks, particularly, and I get it. Now I get it. At first, I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about? I'm just trying to tell this man that I got. This is what the deal is. Here it is. It's black and white. La la la. Here's the email."
Right.
And it's like, no, Laura, you kind of have to be a little bit more gentle.
You got to fluff.
You got to fluff. Literally, that was the word that was used. You need to fluff. And I'm like, I don't even know how to fluff. I've learned how to fluff.
Sure.
You do have to fluff. And again, it's only just tools in my tool belt, and even to better myself in my professional, career, as well as just myself in general. Sometimes you got to fluff. And sometimes when you fluff, it works to your advantage. But I am still like this. I barely fluff. It's a fine line for me.
It's a quick fluff.
It's a quick fluff. And literally, like, especially if I'm I'm using emails, for example, all of my emails are the same way. It's like, hey, hope you had a great weekend. And then I'm going right into business. I ain't fluffing you no more than that. Hope you're having a great day. Hey, I hope this email finds you well. That's actually, to be honest with you, that is the phrase. I hope this finds you well. And then I'm going straight into business. And that's as far as I'm fluffing.
I feel like COVID, that's the one thing COVID has done, is it gives everyone the ability to fluff a little bit. Because I see a lot of emails even still that are being sent, like, hope you're healthy.
Hope you're
well and healthy.
Hope this email finds you safe and well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Oh, that was the COVID thing. Well, while it's still around, it's still a thing. It's not as prominent anymore, so I dropped safe. Hope this email finds you well. But yes, actually, that is funny that you say that, because I did fluff a little bit extra during COVID, because I was like, and I hope that because literally, be honest with you, even when I was writing those emails during COVID, I genuinely was like, God, man, I wonder if anybody they love, are you guys good? Everybody okay? Like, I cared. I really gave a fuck.
We still get emails that are like, I'm sorry, our whole office was out with COVID. It's just this, like, I know.
Still?
Yeah.
Man, I ain't caught a COVID email and I can't tell you how long. I ain't even heard nobody that's had COVID in weeks.
Our people are all over the country.
Yeah,
that we're dealing with. I mean,
interestingly enough, I'm going to that trade show in April in New Orleans. It's called T&D, it's transmission and distribution or whatever. For it's a very large international. It's very, very big international trade show. So we have a ton of companies that come from Asia. None of them are coming.
Oh.
None of them are attending the show.
Interesting.
And they usually have like 1,500 to 2,000 exhibitors, and it's down to like 700.
Ugh, bummer.
It's not my trade show. I don't have to plan it.
I mean, I guess that's true.
Hey, listen, I'm just attending.
I'm along for the ride on
I'm
this
along
one.
for the ride. I get to go try to find. I mean, there's
still trade show.
There's still 700 companies to poach.
Sure.
For potential exhibitors and sponsors. My shit is done. I'm going as an exhibitor. I'm going to stand in the booth and answer questions. And fucking at 5:00 when the trade show's done, I get to walk away.
I'm out,
and I'm going to get some food and some drink, and I'm enjoying New Orleans. I've never been. I'm very excited.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Very excited.
So, do you have any, speaking of Women's History Months, do you have any influences on you as far as women are concerned?
Well, I would say, so as a young woman, my most influential influence, that was smart. Jesus. I'm at the bottom of my second extra double-shotted marg. Okay, so let's try that again.
Give me a minute.
Give me a second. Let me regroup. I would say my biggest influence growing up as a woman, it would have been Pat Summitt. That was me.
Same.
That was me as a child. I swear to God, I wanted to be her. I wanted to. She was my biggest influence.
Like a single girl our age who, maybe the ones who weren't athletes,
if they weren't athletes, yeah.
I don't know a single athlete who's our age that would not have said that same answer.
Yeah,
because that would be my answer too.
Yep, she was just such an amazing.
You want to talk about balance? Figure. I feel like she had that balance between being a bulldog and being fluff.
Yes, and she demanded respect in a way without having to actually demand it. Yes. Meaning she just literally her presence demanded respect because of her professionalism, her commitment, the impact that she had on the sport itself,
her track record.
Her track record. Nah, chick, you didn't even have to say nothing, and people were like,
there she is.
Now in this era, I absolutely still to this day absolutely adore Michelle Obama. I do.
Yep.
I think she's phenomenal. I think she, the way that she represented women in that type of position in the White House is something that I don't know if we'll ever see that type of elegance, grace, and impact ever again. And that whole family, first of all, please come back. Good God. I know it's not possible, but if we could have a third term, I would. Jesus Christ. And then, do you want to know somebody? You're going to think this is weird, probably. However, I am amazed by this woman on a daily basis, and it's not because she's in the public eye much. It's because of how she handles herself in her role and in her position. And you're going to be surprised because I hate her husband. It's LeBron James's wife. I think her name is Sabrina. I think that's her name. And that's terrible. I don't even know her name.
I don't know.
But it's LeBron James's wife. I follow her on social media. I don't follow her overly closely, obviously.
Okay.
If I can't confirm her name, which is terrible, but I'm 99% sure it's Sabrina. I could be wrong. I admire her so much because of that reason right there. I'm not sure if I'm confirming her name right. She's been with LeBron, and I'll give this to LeBron too. I don't like him because I don't like the way that he acts on the basketball court.
Sure. Everything else in his personal
life. But
I
respect his game, his talent, and I sure the fuck respect how he moves as a man, as a father, and as a husband, as a philanthropist.
Yep.
As what he gives back to the community. I respect all of those things madly. I just don't like him because you know.
Listen, when you have to have a foul rule implemented because of you,
I just feel like a super talented. Yes, he's up there in the conversation.
They call flop because of him. Like, that's a legit foul in basketball now.
I know.
You can tell me it's not because of LeBron all day long, but it's fucking because of LeBron. I digress.
I digress too. However, his wife is amazing. You never see her on some bullshit. She is classy. She is strong. She is an outstanding mother. She is a wife. She loves her husband fiercely, and he loves her fiercely back. And there's no bullshit. You don't ever hear about him in the media on some bullshit or her in the media on some bullshit. She's so low key and in the cut and being a support to her husband and understanding her role and what that is. That shit is fucking dope. And she's still like an icon. She's beautiful. She's fashionable. She's in great shape. And she rocks all of whatever the fuck her expectations are of her role.
Yeah.
And that shit to me is bananas. So the reason why I think that that's dope is because, of course, I gave you a Michelle Obama and all of the impact that she has out in the world. Don't get me wrong. But then I also see somebody like that, and it's like, you understand your role as a woman and as a wife and as a mother and as whatever your role is there, and you handle it with so much grace and dignity. Like, that's that balance.
Yeah. So, Pat Summitt was definitely one for me too. Mm-hmm. Like, I was literally gonna say the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. So we don't need to revisit that. The other one, other than my mom and my Aunt Lori,
well, shame on me. I didn't say anybody. I was giving. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't gonna go into too much detail. They know. I've said it before. I've written them in letters. They know the way that they just stand up for themselves and others, and I just have always commended them. However, I have a weird one too, and I don't think it's super weird, but so every year during Women's Month, this speech that was given, and I usually share it every year, a speech that was given by Reese Witherspoon. Have you ever watched it? I typically share it every year.
I don't know.
So she's giving this speech at some award show, and she's talking about how there's not enough representation for women in Hollywood is what she's doing. But she did a lot of things that like defied things. And so she's an avid reader, and she thought all of these books that I read would make a wonderful series or shows or movies or any of these things, but they all have women at the center and nobody would pick them up. So she was like, fuck it. I'll start my own production company. Oh. She put her own money into it. She started it with her own money, and she funded her own production company. And they told her she was going to fail because there's not a need. There's not a niche. There's not a need. There's not room for female-led movies and shows. Mm-hmm. But that's just not true. And she knew that. And so all of these like Big Little Lies on HBO, that's her production company. Yep. Gone Girl is her production company. In like, what's the one with her? And it's on Hulu. Little Fires Everywhere. Oh, yeah, that's her. Mm-hmm. So she takes all of these like strong female-driven books, and she turns them into these money-making commodities. And like in this speech, one of the things she says is, I always hated that line. I would read all these scripts and I would read all these things, and I hated that line where the female would turn to the man and say, well, what are we going to do now? She's like, do you know any woman in any crisis situation that would say, well, what do we do now?
Instead of just
getting it done. In her speech, she's like, we tell people, little children, that if you're in trouble, find a woman. Right? And and so she was like, I hated that was the narrative.
Right.
So I changed it. And I think that that's just the level of confidence, the level of passive aggressiveness and pettiness that kind of can come with that is like right up my alley.
Right up your alley.
Because you have to imagine, while she never came out and said it, you have to imagine there was a little bit like, okay,
right,
sure, go ahead, keep telling me that this isn't gonna work.
Right.
Watch me.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that that's just like, I come back to that a lot, especially during Women's History Month, because I think it's so commendable, and I think it goes back to finding that voice and standing up for yourself and sticking to your guns and doing what you believe in.
Absolutely.
And I think if more women did that, the world would be a better place.
It's tough to accomplish that sometimes, which is the unfortunate thing. And we have come a long way, but we have so much further to go.
Yeah.
But I will say, when we talked about what are we going to do, what we're going to do this week, and you suggested this based on the timing and everything else, and the fact that we hadn't yet done it. We had such a great episode, I remember last year with Anne. Anne was such an amazing, that was like the perfect episode for her. It was such a good addition. But it also made Ruby reflect on the timing of everything that's going on just personally in my life, and knowing what's going on in some of the women that I'm closest to in their lives, and how you said to me, I think we sometimes just need a gentle reminder of how strong we truly are. And I had that reminder this week, you know, and it's like sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit. We have a long way to go as a society, but I think we just have to keep cheerleading for each other and ourselves, and keep I would be lost without my group of the women in my life. And I'm so grateful for you, and I'm so grateful for all the rest of the ones that I have. And I love my girls, man.
Yeah.
I love my girls. I love seeing strong, powerful women. I love just continuing to grow into the woman that I am and that I want to be, and knowing clearly and more so every day what it is that is going to make me whole, and all the goals that I have that I've yet to achieve, and all the things I want to do. I'm just it's ongoing.
Yeah, and I think that's like, I think that's the greatest way to wrap up this episode, is like, we have to be each other's cheerleaders.
Yeah.
We have to uplift each other. We have to, you know, be there for other women and cheer them on, and, you know, pick them up, and, you know, give advice and set the future of women up for success. And we can't do that alone. And so I think if every woman helped somebody out, helped another woman out, like, man, what a difference.
And do you know that if I tell people about the women that I have in my life and the things that they do you know, every time I get the same response? So it's not something, there are some amazing women tribes out there, but I feel like it's not the norm.
Yeah. And
do you know, when I state like, this is what Ashley did, this is what's happening with this individual, this is what Aaron's doing, you know, and it's like, when I say stuff like that, people are like, you have the most amazing friends. And like, I know that. I know that loud and clear. And I am so grateful for that. But that makes me think that I'm sad for the people that don't have that.
Yeah.
I can't say that I would have ever expected that.
I agree.
At this age, to have the quality of women in my life that I do, because I was always real cool with dudes. But that's because I was raised with my brothers, and, you know, like in high school and stuff, I had friends that were girls, but like, then you get to college, some of those friendships fall off, then you might make some new ones, and then do those ones last. But it's like the group of women that I have held on to in my life that are the most important to me to this day are fucking dope.
Yeah.
And amazing. And the way that we rally for each other is sometimes a shock to outside people. Yeah. And I hope that, and I encourage you that, man, if you don't have a girl tribe, I mean, We ain't like no new friends over here. Would you come join ours?
We'll definitely root for you.
We'll root for you.
I mean, if you need a pick me up, like we will be it. I will pick you up. And I think like, you know, I feel like you have to take that, like the drunk girl in the bathroom whose inhibitions are down, telling everyone how cute their outfit is. Like you need to just translate that to a sober adult conversation with other women every day in your life.
Yeah. And do you know what? I think this podcast does that for us. Maybe we can't personally see you because, you know, we're not in the same geographic region or, you know, just that is what it is. But I think that's what this connects us to other women. We could be a part of your girl tribe.
Yeah.
We may not talk to you every day. We may not see you, but we could talk through to you, to the sound waves.
And if you need a little extra, man,
hit us up.
I'll give you a little ad, girl.
Swear to God, we'd be begging you. We'd be begging you to put something in the inbox.
So, listen, happy International Women's Month. Be proud of everything that you've done. Go tell another female that you're proud of everything that they're doing. And please, for the love of God, don't drag other women down with you.
Yeah.
Just be a cheerleader and be kind and respectful and do better.
We usually close it out with "Don't be a dick." Maybe it's like "Don't be a bitch."
Don't be a bitch. Today.
Get you some raspberry marks.
Oh, making me feel fine.
Because I'd be liking to drown my chaos. Because chaos is inevitable.
But that's why there's marks.
So there's pink marks.
Go lift someone up. We love you guys. Thanks for listening.
Cheers.